The Angikuni Lake, Vanishing, Shadows of the Frozen North. Even the dead disappeared. Scene 1. A haunting discovery in the Arctic night. The wind howls across the frozen expanse of Nunavut, Canada, on a bitter November night in 1930, the air so cold it bites at the skin like 1,000 tiny needles. A lone figure trudges through the snow, his boots crunching against the icy crust, his breath fogging in the moonlight. Joe Labelle, a seasoned fur trapper with weathered hands and a grizzled beard, is no stranger to the harsh wilderness of the north. He spent years navigating the remote shores of Angikuni Lake, a shimmering body of water nestled along the Kazan River, known for its trout-filled depths and the caribou that migrate through its rocky outcroppings. Tonight, he seeks refuge in a familiar Inuit village, a small settlement of about 30 souls he's visited many times before, always welcomed with warm stew and stories of the Wendigo whispered around crackling fires. But as Joe approaches, something feels wrong. The village is silent, the usual hum of life replaced by an eerie stillness that sends a shiver down his spine unrelated to the cold. He calls out, his voice swallowed by the wind, but no one answers. The full moon casts a ghostly glow over the tents, and Joe notices smoke rising from a fire pit, a pot of stew still simmering untouched. He steps closer, his heart pounding, and finds the village deserted, tents empty, kayaks untouched, and no footprints in the fresh snow. In one tent, a sealskin repair lies abandoned mid-stitch, the needle still in place, as if the seamstress vanished mid-task. Then, on the outskirts, Joe stumbles upon a horrifying sight: 7 sled dogs, still tethered to their posts, frozen and starved beneath a layer of snow, their mournful howls silenced forever. Panic grips him as he realizes something unthinkable has happened here. An entire community has vanished without a trace. Welcome to Legends Unveiled, where we unravel history's darkest mysteries. Tonight, we descend into the chilling enigma of Angikuni Lake, where an Inuit village disappeared in 1930, leaving behind a mystery that still haunts the frozen north. Scene 2. Joe Labelle's desperate search. Joe Labelle's mind races as he moves through the village, his lantern casting flickering shadows on the snow-covered ground. He's a man of the wild, hardened by years of trapping beaver and caribou, but this silence unnerves him like nothing he's ever encountered. He checks each tent, hoping to find a clue, but the scene only grows more bizarre. Food stocks are plentiful, enough to last the winter, and warm clothing lies neatly folded, untouched. In one tent, a rifle leans against the wall, a necessity no Inuit would leave behind in this unforgiving landscape. Joe's thoughts turn to the stories he's heard from the villagers, tales of wood ghosts and the fearsome Wendigo, a malevolent spirit said to haunt these lands, but he pushes them aside, focusing on the tangible. He searches for signs of violence, but there are none, no blood, no signs of a struggle, just an eerie sense of interruption, as if the villagers were plucked from existence mid-breath. Then, at the village burial ground, Joe's lantern reveals a sight that makes his blood run cold. Every grave is open, the frozen earth undisturbed by animals, the bodies gone, and stones neatly stacked beside each empty pit, a taboo unthinkable to the Inuit, who revere their dead. Terrified, Joe stumbles back to the nearest telegraph office in the Pas, Manitoba, his hands trembling as he sends a message to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Village deserted. Everyone gone. Even the dead missing. Come quick. As he waits for help, Joe can't shake the feeling that something unnatural has taken the villagers, something he can't explain with his years of wilderness knowledge. Scene 3. The Mounties' investigation and a strange encounter. The RCMP arrives a week later, a small team led by Constable Pierre Gagnon, a stoic officer with a reputation for solving cases in the harshest corners of Canada. Pierre is a man of logic, his sharp eyes scanning the village as he directs his men to search for clues. They confirm Joe's account: fires still smoldering, food untouched, and the graves desecrated, the stones stacked with a precision that rules out animals. Pierre notes the absence of footprints, a detail that gnaws at his rational mind. Even a sudden evacuation would leave tracks in the snow. The Mounties find the sled dogs, their frozen bodies a grim testament to the villagers' abrupt departure, and Pierre wonders how anyone could leave such vital companions to starve. As the team sets up camp, Pierre interviews Joe, who recounts his discovery with a tremor in his voice, mentioning the Inuit legends he's heard, including Torngarsuk, a malevolent sky god some locals believe could abduct entire communities. Pierre dismisses this as superstition, but his skepticism wavers when his men report a strange encounter on their journey to the lake. They had stopped at a shack to rest, meeting a trapper named Émile Dupont and his 2 sons, who shared a chilling tale. Days before, they saw a luminous, gleaming object in the sky, shifting shapes as it flew toward Angikuni Lake, its blue light pulsing before fading into the darkness. Pierre scribbles this in his notebook, his mind wrestling with the possibility of something beyond his understanding. But he keeps his focus on the facts, determined to find a logical explanation for the disappearance of 30 men, women, and children. Scene 4. A tale spreads, fueled by sensationalism. News of the Angikuni vanishing spreads quickly, amplified by a November 29, 1930, article in The Bee, a Danville, Virginia newspaper, written by journalist Emmett E. Kelleher. Emmett, known for his flair for the dramatic, paints a vivid picture of the ghost village, describing Joe Labelle's discovery and the empty graves, hinting at supernatural forces at play. The story captures the public's imagination, especially in the US, where radio shows buzz with speculation, and soon the tale grows larger than life. By the time it reaches books like Nigel Blundell and Roger Bohr's 1984 World's Greatest UFO Mysteries, the village's population balloons to 2,000, and new details emerge: 3 trappers witnessing a UFO, and even claims of 1,000 missing graves, none of which align with the original reports. Back in Nunavut, Pierre Gagnon's investigation hits a dead end. After weeks of searching, the Mounties find no trace of the villagers, estimating they've been gone for about 8 weeks before Joe's arrival. Pierre's final report notes the blue lights seen by Émile and his sons, but he concludes there's no evidence of foul play, leaving the case open as an unsolved mystery. The RCMP later distances itself from the sensationalized accounts, with some officials in the 1950s claiming the event never happened, pointing to Emmett Kelleher's reputation for exaggeration. Yet, documented press accounts from the 1930s and 2 RCMP investigations, one in 1930 and another in 1931, confirm something occurred at Angikuni Lake, even if the truth remains elusive. Scene 5. Theories and speculative shadows of Angikuni Lake. As the years pass, the Angikuni mystery becomes a cornerstone of Canadian folklore, a tale whispered around campfires and debated on forums like Reddit and web sleuths. Theories abound, each reflecting the era's fears and fascinations. Some believe a sudden threat, like a severe blizzard or food shortage, forced the villagers to flee. The Arctic's harsh conditions often drove relocations, but untouched food supplies and warm clothing left behind contradict this. Plus, no footprints were found in the snow, and the desecrated graves remain unexplained. In the 1930s, the Canadian government sometimes relocated Inuit communities. This theory suggests authorities moved the villagers, leaving no trace. However, no records exist of such an action at Angikuni, and the lack of footprints, along with the disturbed graves, makes this unlikely. Fueled by Émile Dupont's sighting of a shape-shifting blue light, some think aliens abducted the villagers. This gained traction in the 1980s UFO craze, explaining the lack of footprints. Yet there's no physical evidence like UFO debris, and later accounts exaggerated the story, casting doubt. Inuit beliefs suggest spirits like Kalupalik or Torngasuk took the villagers, perhaps for disturbing a sacred site. The desecrated graves support this, as it's taboo in Inuit culture. But there's no proof of a specific violation, and the blue lights might just be the northern lights. Skeptics like Brian Dunning argue the story is fake, pointing to Emmett Kelleher's inconsistent article, like kayaks battered by waves on a frozen lake. They suggest Joe Labelle exaggerated, and the RCMP later denied the event. Still, early RCMP reports confirm something happened, leaving room for doubt. Scene 6. A modern resurgence and lingering questions. Fast forward to May 2025, and the Angikuni mystery experiences a viral resurgence, sparked by a thread on X, where user at Arctic Mystery posts alleged photos of the abandoned village, claiming they were found in a declassified RCMP archive, though the images are quickly debunked as staged. The timing aligns with renewed global interest in unexplained phenomena following a May 9, 2025 Pentagon briefing on UAPs that reveals new sightings in the Arctic, fueling speculation about historical cases like Angikuni. Documentaries like Lost Souls of Angikuni Lake, 2024, revisit the story, blending reenactments with interviews of Inuit descendants who share oral histories that don't corroborate the disappearance, but speak of the land's spiritual power. One interviewee, an elder named Ayla, recalls her grandmother's warnings about the lake. It's a place where the veil between worlds is thin, disturb it, and you may not return. Researchers like Dr. Emily Carter, a UAP task force member, weigh in, noting historical claims like Angikuni remain unproven, but they remind us how little we know about the remote north. Modern investigations using satellite imagery and ground-penetrating radar find no trace of a village, but the lack of evidence only deepens the intrigue, leaving room for speculation. Could the blue lights have been a natural phenomenon, like the northern lights misinterpreted by frightened witnesses? Or did Joe Labelle stumble upon a real event, one the harsh Arctic erased from history? Scene 7. Echoes of the Unknown, a mystery unresolved. More than 90 years after Joe Labelle's haunting discovery, the Angikuni Lake vanishing remains one of Canada's most enduring mysteries, a blend of historical enigma, cultural lore, and speculative wonder. To be clear, this story is a retelling of documented accounts, from Joe's initial report to the RCMP investigations, but the evidence is thin. No physical remnants of the village have been found, no official files or photos have surfaced, and the sensationalized tales of UFOs and mass abductions remain unverified. Yet, as with all mysteries we explore, the possibility lingers. What if something truly unexplainable happened on that frozen shore? Was it a sudden exodus, a government cover-up, or a spiritual reckoning rooted in Inuit lore? Or perhaps, as skeptics argue, it's simply a tale spun from the imagination of a journalist seeking a headline. The frozen north holds its secrets tight, and Angikuni Lake remains a ghostly echo of the unknown, a reminder of how vast and unpredictable our world can be. What are your thoughts on this enigma? Share your opinions in the comments. Do you believe there's truth behind the vanishing, or is it just a chilling myth? Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more chilling mysteries on Legends Unveiled. Let's keep unraveling the unknown.